Our next guest is the voice of the Cougars. His name is Greg Wrubell. Greg, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
So my Turkey Bowl guy, and thank you, Lee Johnson. Flip field position. It's a field position. It's a field position game.
You're the punting guy?
Yeah.
You know what? It's 4th down. I don't think we're going to make it. Let's punt. Yeah.
Do the safe thing.
Okay, BYU and Utah on Saturday. We'll talk hoops in a sec. We'll wrap with that. But BYU and Utah, the rivalry. What does the rivalry mean to you? You've been part of this rivalry as a student and then on the broadcast crew since '92. What does it mean to you?
It's meant some of my favorite broadcasting memories. You know, people ask for, biggest games or biggest calls, and most of them are BYU-Utah games, whether it's Speck to Harleen or 4th and 18 or Georgia in overtime or even Jimmer from half court. These are BYU-Utah moments. So those games give me the most indelible broadcasting memories. And that's what it means to me.
You had a quote in, maybe it was the 90s or something, where you were like, the way BYU's lost the cardiac, the heart, what you had some quote that I read when I was little. I was like, this is the perfect description of losing to Utah. Do you recall?
I'm glad I did that. I don't know what I said.
It made an impression on Jim.
It made an impression on me so much that I can't remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
Nor can I. Yeah.
We were having this conversation with Max Hall, and we were talking about, who needs to have the bigger game. Is there more pressure on the offense to score on Utah's defense, BYU's defense, stopping Utah's offense? I think most people would probably go on the offensive side. So with that in mind, what has the offense shown you over the last month and a half or so that gives you confidence that they can score on this Utah defense on Saturday?
Well, Utah's defense is formidable, and it's hard to run against them. And I think if BYU can't run against them, they're not going to win. The numbers have shown that over time. Kalani's not won a game yet, okay? Since he's been the head coach, BYU's not won a game yet when they don't get to 100 yards rushing. Okay, in their 7 straight losses to Utah, they're averaging 92, and that's with some low games in there. So if they can't run it, they probably can't win it, and so that puts a lot of pressure on that guy, number 4, and number 2, and number 34. But the good thing is they're all available right now. I'm not even really sweating Squally. I don't expect much, if anything. I've kind of set him to the side just because his injuries have taken him out. But that said, those other 3 guys, they should all be good enough and fresh enough and strong enough for BYU to kind of roll them in, keep rolling guys in, and find a way to grind out those rush yards. What did Colorado rush for 36 or 38 last week? Now, they were trailing up much of the game, but you've got to find a way to somehow get something done against Utah, and it's hard. They're 5th or 6th in the country right now in rush yards per carry allowed. It's hard to do, but if you can't do it, you probably can't win it. And so, but I think BYU's as equipped as they've been to try and do it, at least. And the Lopini-Katoa thing, I think, is a big deal. Over the last month, we saw almost nothing from him. And he was coming, I thought he was going to be a go-to guy. Even with Squally still in the mix, I thought Lopini was ready to take over. And because he wasn't, they had to bring Matt Hadley in and elevate his role. Now that he's back, look how good he looked this past week. If that's your guy, if that's the same guy this week, I feel good about BYU's ability to at least give it a shot to get those ground yards rolled up.
Can BYU summon the Arizona or the Wisconsin performance one time? And that was September, but BYU dominated the line of scrimmage in those 2 games. Double-digit underdogs, Power 5 teams on the road. That's the case here.
Okay, let's expand that a little bit. This will be Kalani Sitake's 10th P5 away game, away neutral. So 10th P5 game away from home. Okay, his record's 4-5 in the previous 9. Okay, let's break down the 4 and 5. How do they get to the 4 and how do they have the 5? So of these 9 away neutral P5 games, in the 5 losses, BYU has 11 turnovers. In the 4 wins, 0.
So don't turn
Not a single turnover in their away neutral P5 wins. Not even one. They've beaten Arizona twice, they've beaten Michigan State, and they've beaten Wisconsin. All on the road, all without a single turnover. Let's back it up. What was BYU's last win over Utah? 2009. How many turnovers? 0. Turnovers in every Utah game since, and multiple turnovers in 6 of the 7 losses. So, if you're going to win away from home against a really good team, a P5 team, not just take care of the ball, don't turn it over. At all. At all. Because BYU's had trouble when they do it against the good teams away from home. When they haven't turned it over, win, 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 win.
And it doesn't mean you'll win per se, but you at least give yourself a chance on the road. And with a freshman quarterback, if it's snowing, you can't ask Zach Wilson to win with his arm in the snow. I think that's somewhat unrealistic. So run, and don't turn it over.
Yeah, I think it's remarkable though that's the way it's been. That the one common tie in those 4 P5 away neutral games is they didn't turn it over a single time, not even one.
Let's talk about the other side of the football. The BYU defense, since the Utah State games, played really well. They're only giving up 15 points per game. How do you think they match up against this Utah offense that you kind of thought after they lose Huntley and they lose Moss that they take a step back? That hasn't been the case.
Yeah, there was a stretch there where Utah, I think, peeled off maybe 4 straight games of 40-plus in the midst of Pac-12 play, so clearly it's a good offense. But the BYU defense has been the better part of this BYU team this year, especially late in the season. So, I won't be surprised at all if this thing looks like it's going to go, 21-17, 17-14, 20-17. That kind of has the feel to me. Utah's proven good enough to get the numbers up, but where BYU's strong right now is keeping numbers low. They've only allowed 24 points or more 2 times in 11 games. And this would kind of go in line with how these BYU-Utah games have gone, with some rare exceptions. Utah has gotten loose on BYU a handful of times in the last 20 years, but just a handful. Most of these other games are grinders. And, BYU's hurt without Corbin Kaufusi. There's no doubt. He's just a difference maker. He's a playmaker. He's a guy that can switch things in a hurry because of his impact. So that's a factor. It's an element you got to consider. It's more of a bunch of guys trying to replace Corbin now because he's a special and unique player. So that's a hit. It's a big hit you take at this time of year.
The voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell, is on BYU Sports Nation. The Cougars men's basketball team plays Rice tonight. What have you seen from BYU that's encouraged you that this team's headed towards what they hope is an NCAA tournament again this season?
Tempo and transition and a solid first 7 that will soon be 8 with Nick Emery. I feel really good about the first 7, soon to be 8 on this team. The freshmen have come in and done, I think, everything you'd hope they could do and more with Baxter and Harding, and that's even with Gavin missing the last game. Hopefully he's back tonight against Rice. But what BYU's done in terms of their speed of play and what they're doing in fast break and transitions made a big difference for this team early season, and hopefully it pays off once they get into a tougher stretch of games, which is just around the corner.
Okay, check out the pregame on BYU Radio tonight at 8 Eastern, and then tips at 9.
With this guy?
So, yeah.
Zach Salius will be our player interview in the first segment.
Very nice.
Having a nice start.
You won't be able to hear his short shorts, but they're there. Trust me.
And his short hair.
And his short hair. That's right.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
It's a good look. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I was going to say, anything else to tease?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Behind the Mic is taking a hiatus, for those wondering, right?
There's a BYU basketball game tonight and the next few weeks, as a matter of fact, too.
Back in January?
I think we're going to be back, unless BYU's playing a bowl game on December 19th. We'll have a show that night, and I think it'll be a Mark Lyons night. Probably have Mark in for the hour.
That's a great idea.
Hey, and we've actually teased this really quick. We teased it a bunch during the show. You tweeted out the significance of playing this game on November 24th.
Oh, it's a goofy thing.
But
we
we teased this throughout the entire show.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, as it turns out, and then not that it was, it just kind of appeared to me. BYU is undefeated on November 24th. Take it for what it's worth.
Well.
They're 10-0. They're 10-0 on that date.
We're reaching for things that are going in BYU's favor.
Yeah, well, sure,
That's
why
one of
not?
them.
It's a fun one. 10-0 on that date, 3-0 against Utah on that date. Lavelle's last game was on that date up in Salt Lake City, November 24th.
Year anniversary.
Yeah, of that game. So, yeah, let's hang our hat on that.
I love it. Let's
go. Better already.
Yeah. Why is BYU going to win Saturday? Because it's on November 24th.
The calendar says so.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep.